Do you ever just get the urge to play a really bad deck? Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, I am playing Nekroz. This deck used to be tier 0 ages ago, and is no longer. Now it's the only ritual deck that has ever been good, realistically, besides Drytron. And we're not playing Drytron Nekroz because at that point it's just Drytron, and we all know Drytron. We've seen it. We know what it does. But here is Nekroz. Nekroz centers around utilizing the hand effects of the Nekroz ritual monsters in order to generate massive advantage, and really just hate on the extra deck. Unicorn negates monster effects that are special, monsters that are special from the extra. Clausulus can also negate a monster special summon from the extra, and Bryonic can bounce monsters special summon from the extra deck. Insane. On top of that, you can use Kaleidoscope to send monsters from the extra deck in order to special summon out multiple Nekroz monsters. We also have things like Cycle to bring back from the grave, and Mirror to banish cards from the grave to special summon from hand. All in all, a pretty standard, or what I would say is a standard deck or style of ritual summoning. So let's do the quick card by card. Starting off with the Nekroz cards, starting with Shurit, the only main deck monster that we're playing, because it basically fulfills any requirement for any of your Nekroz monsters if you need to ritual summon them. So basically, if you have this guy, he can be used for the ritual summon of the level 10 without actually needing multiple levels. So you just need this one guy, and he fulfills the full requirement. Very nice. Next up, we are playing the Triple Clausulus, which is the search for the spell and trap. There are no traps. It's just spells. Don't know why this is spell and trap. Literally, it's just these three. So, there's that. But you can also, on the field, quick effect to target a face-up monster on the field that was special summoned from the extra deck and negate its effects and change its attack to 0. Next up, we have Triple Bryonic. Bryonic is the discard to search a monster from your deck to your hand, and on top of that, you can bounce up to 2 special summoned monsters from the extra deck and shuffle them into the deck, or just, bounce them. Next up, we have 2 Unicorn. Unicorn can discard it to add back a Nekroz card from the grave, and on field, he negates all special summoned monsters from the extra deck. Just negates their effects entirely. So unlike something like a Baguska, it's not just activated effects, it's any effect. Just straight up negated, no effect. Thank you. Next up, we have ourselves the one Trishula, which protects from targeting by discarding itself, and on Ritual Summon, you banish exactly 3 cards from the opponent, 1 from hand, 1 from field, and 1 from grave. You need 1 in each zone in order for you to even activate this effect, so do keep that in mind. However, it's still very good to be able to banish 3 cards. It's kind of crazy. And then, of course, we have the newest card. I don't know if it's actually the newest, but one of the newer cards, Nekroz of... I'm not sure how to say this. I'm just going to call him A. This card, he's big, 33, 32, so that's a big reason to play him. But more importantly, he is a monster effect negation. You negate a monster effect by tributing a monster from your hand or field and banishing it, and banishing the monster you negate, which is pretty good. Next up, we have ourselves the support cards, things like Gale Dogra. Since we don't really use the extra deck a whole lot, I figured, hey, why not use Gale Dogra so we can send things like Herald of Arclight or a Garura to get additional advantage. So we're playing 2 of this guy. We are also playing the, of course, Trouble Maxi. We're playing 2 Incantation Candals, as well as Talismandras, as well as 2 Chalice Slime. Now, if you don't know what these do, on Special Summon, Candal searches a spell, a ritual spell. Talismandras searches a ritual monster. Chalice Slime can special summon both, as well as both of these guys can special summon the other. Pretty simple. Then we are playing Triple Prep of Rites. Now, we're not playing pre-prep because there's not really a point to playing pre-prep when we don't have any of these spells that also name any of the monsters. So it's just better to be able to also add back from the hand instead. And we don't really need to search out things like Trish or Arid because Bryonic can do that as well. Also, Shurit can do that, technically. So there's that. Also, this allows us to grab Chalice Slime, which is very good. Next up, we have ourselves the one Rhoda with the one Prosperity, double Extrav, and then 2 apiece of all of the Nekroz spells, that being the Nekroz Mirror, Kaleidoscope, and Cycle. Mirror allows us to banish cards from the grave for the requirement of the Ritual Summon. Kaleidoscope allows us to send from extra deck to the grave, and Cycle allows us to special summon from from the graveyard utilizing the hand or field. On top of that, we also have the ability for all of them, if you control no monsters, to banish itself and a Nekroz monster in order to add a Nekroz spell from your deck to your hand. So they basically all replace themselves if your field is clear. We're also playing one Inception. This is just to grab off of things like the Candle, in case you need an additional ritual summon. Like, for example, you've used up all of your names, that would actually be useful there. However, notably, you can only use the incantations, so do keep that in mind. And then we're playing two called by, I don't know, because it kind of fits. As for the extra deck, it's a bit weird, but stay with me. We're playing some 3s. That's all that these are. These are just 3s to summon out Colossalus in case we need to, with something like a Kaleidoscope. So we're playing those. We're playing double Entis because it's a good card to send to the graveyard off of something like a Gale Dogra, and it's a 4, which means on Kaleidoscope we can also send it to the graveyard to summon out a Unicorn, which means it's also another free pop. So we're playing 2 of those. We're playing 2 Garura. Hey, similar reasons. Garura, Gale Dogra, as well as summoning a Bryonic. Next up we have a Goyo Emperor. Did you know Kaleidoscope can summon any number of ritual monsters? So, as long as you have the level requirements, for example, if you have a 6 and a 4, you can send a 10, and all of a sudden you are able to summon out the both of the monsters onto the field, which is pretty good. However, Goyo Emperor isn't great, but he's there. We also have 5-Headed Dragon for a similar reason with the, I believe it's with the 6, no, sorry, the 9 and the 3. It's Colossalus and Trishula. So, there you go. Then we have Triple Herald of Arclight, which is the actual send off of the Gale Dogra, as well as the Kaleidoscope, which allows us to search additional monsters or spells, which is very, very nice. We have the 1 Zeta, as well as Ad Ignister Wind Pegasus for the 7 requirements for the Kaleidoscope. So if we wanted to special summon the Colossalus, as well as the Unicorn, there's that. And then another 10 because it's funny. And then we have our, and that's basically it. There you go. Let's hop into the duels and show you how this deck performs. Alright, so here we are going second, and in all honesty, this deck is significantly better at going second than it is at going first. The main reason for this is because Trish. That's it. That's basically it. Also, Bryonic is pretty good at bouncing cards to the hand if you need to. But my opponent is on Branded. The reason I know this is because they, instead of searching something like a Fluffle card that you would actually play in Fluffles, it's Edge and Chain. So, there you go. My opponent is going to go for the Fallen of Albaz, which is kind of interesting off of that Branded Fusion, the Fusion deployment, and then they're going to go activate the Polymerization to go into Lubellion. Lubellion is just going to pitch the Imperm, which is actually a death sentence for my opponent here, and go into the Mirror Jade. They're going to set 1 and pass. Unless that is a second Imperm, we actually have the out here. So, we're going to go, and immediately the Cockroach comes down. Okay, well, that's fine. We do have a play to kind of play around this. We're going to start off here with the Bryonic in order to grab up the Turret so that we have the ability to go for basically anything here off of this Colossalus and summon whatever we need to. I'm going to grab up the Unicorn here just to have it, and then we're also going to grab up the second Colossalus. And the reason for this is because we're going to use the first one in order to grab up this Nekroz Mirror. Doesn't really matter which one we grab up here, though. In order to go for the Trishula, we're going to use that Shuret's entire requirement, or as the entire requirement, in order to summon out the Trish. Now, notably, my opponent has a card in hand, they have a card in the grave, and they have a card in the field, which means Trish gets to go get him out of here. We also get to activate the Shuret's effect, and if you notice, Trish doesn't target, which means this Albion that they just sent to the graveyard in order to allow them to get an additional monster or something like that, like a Branded Fusion or what have you, is also just going to be banished. So we're going to banish that, we're going to banish the Mirror Jade, and we're also going to banish the card in hand, which happened to be the thing that they searched with the Prayer for Casuals. I'm going to pass here and be like, alright, well, you better have it. You've got 2 cards in hand, and my opponent just passes. I don't have anything. Well, we draw the Pot of Extra, and at this point the game is basically over. We have more or less all that we need. We draw the second Candle, which isn't great, but that's fine. We're going to go for the Nekroz Meter engraved to grab up the Kaleidoscope, go for the Candle here, and special summon out the Talismandra. Talismandra's effect is going to activate, and my opponent just concedes. I have 6 cards in hand. Yeah, I totally understand. Good game. Alright, so here we are, once again going second. This deck does pretty well going second. Now, granted, I didn't build this specifically to go second, but it's still just good at it. We're going to draw for turn the Mirror, which is actually pretty good. We're going to start off, obviously, with the Pot of Extra. We're going to draw 2 cards. Hey, that's pretty nice. We're going to activate the Gale Dogra. Of course, my opponent has the Imperm. I'm just expecting that, but Gale Dogra is still the correct play, because it just generates so much advantage if it does resolve. So that gets negated. We're going to activate the Shallow Slime. My opponent's going to go for the Maxi, to which I will go no. Point at it. Dies. Anyway, we summon out the Talismandra, pitching the Shallow Slime from our hand. Talismandra is going to grab up the Trishula, and we're going to immediately summon that guy out with the Mirror. We're going to activate the effect of the Shuret, as well as the Trishula, to the which my opponent will then special summon out the Big Welcome, or special summon out using the Big Welcome, the Lady Labyrinth, which is a bit interesting, but okay. Now, notably, we could just banish this Big Welcome, which is nice. We might be able to even snipe the Lady Labyrinth, and yeah, that's kind of the hope here. So we're going to banish a whole bunch of cards, and we hit... Excuse what? Metal? We're playing Metal? That's Metal Morph. That's... Okay. Metal Morph. Metal Morph. Look, it's not the best of lab, but... it's still lab. We're going to go for the Colossalist here, which we searched... we searched out the A, and then we also searched out the Cycle so that we could special summon. However, I decide it's not really worth it to go for like a Bryonic here or anything like that. And since we already used Mirror's effect, since that was the first one that we grabbed, which realistically I shouldn't have grabbed that one first, we now can't go for the Reed because we don't have access to exact levels. Now, notably, you do need exact levels in order to summon out your monsters because all of these require exact levels to actually activate. So, can't go for anything there. So we're just going to deal some damage. For some reason, I don't know why we didn't just special summon out of the the lady, but alas, we didn't. So there's that. They're going to go normal summon the Ariana and grab up Stovey Torby. Fantastic. We have the called by for this immediately. And oh wow, they drew Lovely as well. That's kind of interesting. So we're just going to banish that and go, no, none of that. My opponent's going to walk in. They walk into the Gale Dogra. Sad. Dang, we don't get to use its effects, but that's okay. Okay, I just need to draw... that one. Yeah, that one works. Shallow Slime is going to activate its effect in order to summon out the Talismandra. Talismandra can then grab up the Bryonic. We're then going to go for the Bryonic here, pitching itself. Oh, sorry. We actually discarded, instead of the Shallow Slime, we discarded the a Reed so that we can special summon it. We're going to go for the Cycle here, tributing off this Shuret to special summon out the Reed. That makes it a lot easier. We can then go for the Shuret in order to grab up the Colossalist, and my opponent realizes, oh, they don't have anything. Yeah, good game, and fair. Alright, here we are finally going first, and this is a pretty decent hand. So we're going to start off here with the Shallow Slime. Shallow Slime is going to special summon out the Talismandra, pitching the second Colossalist that we had in hand. We're going to grab the Bryonic. Bryonic effect is going to grab up that Shuret, and then we are going to normal summon Gale Dogra. Activate the effect, sending one, grabbing up the A, then sending a second to grab up a Unicorn. We're then going to activate the Colossalist here, and we're going to grab up the Kaleidoscope. We're going to activate the Kaleidoscope, sending that third Herald in order to summon out the Unicorn. Unicorn is now on the field, which means any extra deck monster is negated, basically. We're going to go for the Mirror, tributing off that Shuret in order to summon out the A once again. Activate the Shuret effect and grab up the Trishula. We're going to pass on this. Now, having a Gale Dogra with 2,000 attack, or with 2,000 life points on... having Gale Dogra, while only at 2,000 life points, isn't exactly great, because if they have anything with 2,700 life points, or sorry, 20,000, or 27,000, anyway, you get the idea. 2,700 on the field without activating a monster effect, we do kind of just die. The likelihood of that is slim. I'm also going to activate the Maxi here. Trust me, it's not really that big of a deal. Actually, it might be. They're going to go for Toons, Toon Kingdom. It's real Toons. It's not Sky Striker or something like that. It's Toons. It's actual Toons. I don't know what's going on, but it's fine. Out comes the Summon Skull. Out comes a Blackstone of Legend. I don't know why they're special summoning so much. But yeah, Summoning Sickness, by the way. This is just magic. It's just magic. They're just magic cards. Cool. We draw the Candle here, and we're gonna activate the Pot of Extrav. And then my opponent goes Toon Mask. Notably, it's not actually doing anything to my Unicorn. It's just summoning a monster, but they did target, which means Trishula. So yeah, we're gonna negate that with Trishula's effect and draw two. We draw a Gale Dogra, which is very funny. We're gonna go for the Candle here. We're gonna special summon out, or sorry, we're gonna grab up the Cycle. We're then going to tribute off the Gale Dogra, as well as the card in hand, to go for Trishula, which happens to be exactly what we need. So yeah, we luckily had the Chalice Slime in our hand, which is a 7, as well as the Gale Dogra, which is exactly 9. Fantastic. So we're going to banish that field spell, as well as the card in hand, as well as the only card in grave that actually can do anything. We're just going to switch everything to attack position that actually has attack points, and to walk over the field. At this point, the game is basically won. So yeah, we can just scoop it up. We can just scoop this up. We can just the game's over. You don't have, you're playing tunes. That card isn't anything. There's nothing that. Yeah, see? Oh, look, it's nothing. Did you know that Pot of Prosperity has an effect? Did you know? Because Pot of Prosperity says you half battle damage, or half damage for the rest of this turn, dealt to your opponent. Now, mind you, I do have lethal here, but I instead forget about that secondary effect because, let's be honest, how many of you remembered that effect? 450 life points. I could have just summoned the Brionic, and instead I chose not to. I could have just summoned the Brionic. I had access to the Brionic. I could have summoned it, and I just chose not to. It's fine, my opponent just drew a card and passed it. But, whoopsie-doopsie. Remember your prosperity effects, chat. Or, you, right there. You remember prosperity. Anyway, that's it. That was the game. Alright, we're back with the deck, and okay, this deck's not great. I'm not gonna lie to you. But it is very fun. If you enjoy ritual decks, or more specifically decks that aren't so linear and do take a little bit more time and thought to figure out what you're doing, this deck is very fun. If you like things like Megalith or other such decks in similar fashions, then I think you'll like this deck. Yes, it's not good. There's not a whole lot that you can do. And yes, it does kind of rely on your opponent not knowing what Unicorn does. But does that mean it's bad? No. It just means that realistically, you're not going to have the best time with it. You're not going to be winning any tournaments or you know, climbing to the highest ranks or anything like that. But all in all, I still really enjoy this deck. There is a reason that I, you know, play it. There's a reason I really like it, and it's one of those decks that I genuinely believe most Yu-Gi-Oh decks should function like. Minus this guy. Not a fan of this guy, but he's decent. And in fact, even his negate is pretty nice. The negate, the activation, banishing, and more specifically requiring you to tribute a monster from either hand or field is pretty nice. All things considered, though, I do think that this deck is very interesting. The way that it interacts, Trishula is very unique in not just like being a hand rip, but more specifically being a way to specifically deal with 3 different cards is very nice. Unicorn is technically a floodgate, but it's a very easy to deal with floodgate, especially since it's not like you're preventing them from entirely special summoning. They can still just special summon the monster and then attack it. Just, you know, not that big of a deal. You also have things like the Clausulus, which is a constant advantage. Brionic to bounce cards. There's a lot of really cool, intricate details with this deck that really makes it fun. However, it does kind of at this point just center around the big guy with a negate. Kind of sad, but yeah, I think that more decks like this should exist. Minus this guy. No one likes him. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, like us very much, so appreciate it. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh, then just be sure to subscribe. And thank you guys. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.